الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. فعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: آية المنافق ثلاث: إذا حدث كذب، وإذا وعد أخلف، وإذا اؤتمن خان. وفي رواية حديث عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما قال: وإذا خاصم فجر. The hadith that we were talking about, hadith Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, that the Prophet ﷺ said, there are three signs of hypocrite. When he speaks, he tells lies. When he makes promise, he breaks it. And when he entrusted, he betrays his trust. Reported by Bukhari wa Muslim. And Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As narrated the hadith, but with the addition, said there are four signs of hypocrite. أربع يعني من النفاق. And what did he add? He added وإذا خاصم فجر. And when he disagree with you, he is abusive. So this is basically, or behave in very insulting and abusive manners. We talked about lying. العلماء رحمهم الله اختلفوا في تعريف الكذب. العلماء debated what is the definition of كذب. أنا أسألكم, I ask you guys, ما هو تعريف الكذب? What is considered a lie? How would you define lying? What's lying? What that means? When you say something is not true. Okay? And how would you define truth?
Something based in reality?
Different than reality. Is the truth what's different than reality, or what is different than what you believe? When you say lying is not saying the truth. Yani lying is to say something different than the reality, or it is different than what you believe or you think is reality. For instance, if I say nobody in my office right now, okay, because I lock my office, there's nobody in my house, صح? But we found out that somebody there right now, Azim al-Din, went inside, or Shaykh Ibrahim just walked in to look at the book. Did I commit a lie? No, but based on your definition, I did. Because I said something different than what the reality is. صح؟ ولذلك العلماء رحمه الله قالوا لا يمكن تعريف الكذب بأنه يقال هو الإخبار بخلاف الواقع. Some people said is to tell something different than what the reality is. They said you cannot define. That means everybody can. That can be lie in a general sense, and it means a mistake. ولذلك في لغة العرب يقال كذب يعني أخطأ. ولذلك في بعض الروايات في السيرة تقول مثلا كذبت، يقال يعني إيش؟ أخطأت. ما هو الكذب بمعنى المعصية والذنب. That's why you find in several narrations between the Sahaba رضي الله عنهم, someone will say to someone, you lied. And they meant by lying, you made a mistake. They don't mean you lie, which is the sin, the bad man that we talk about here. You lie and you said something different than what is the reality is. You're wrong. You got it? But the lie that is haram and sin is to say something different than what you believe is the truth. I know there is somebody in my office right now. I saw them when I'm coming. But I tell you my office is empty. That's a lie. Because I believe that it is someone there. You see the difference? إيش فائدة الكلام؟ فلسفة بس ولا له فائدة؟ Is there any benefit from this debate? or it has a benefit. Obviously, there is a benefit. What's the benefit? The benefit is, would you consider fiction books lie and haram to write fiction books? Never happened. Movies. That's right. Jokes. Because all these are made up. That's right. It's not true. So there is some people actually said haram, you're not allowed to have fiction books, you're not allowed there is, and you cannot act, and you cannot have a drama, script, you cannot, all this haram. Why? Because for them, the lying is to al-ikhbar bi khilaf al-waqi. They said, did it happen? No, it didn't happen. So you're lying. That's not lie. The lie is to tell what's different than what you believe is true. And when I say this is a fiction book, you and me understand immediately that this is a made up story. I'm not lying. I never believed that there is somebody who traveled and did this and did that. When I do the script for acting or something like that, everybody knows just an act is not true. Okay? So when I say a joke, everybody knows that this joke is made up. It's not really there is someone from this particular, did this or did that. Everybody knows just a joke. So it might be haram, but not because it's a lie. It might be haram for other reason, because make fun of religion or making fun of someone or people or race. This is a different case. Okay? But I'm talking about just the definition of lie. And that's something interesting to keep in mind. طيب. I didn't mention this last week, so I thought it will be beneficial to share it with you. So the lie is to tell something different than what you believe is true. Okay. Or also what other people think or assume it's true, because that's a deceiving and it's a form of lying. Okay. طيب. The second character trait that it was mentioned in the hadith, that he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he makes that person, when he makes a promise, he breaks it. هو إخلاف الوعد. طيب. إخلاف الوعد. Is keeping a promise wajib? Like if I promise you something, do I have to fulfill it? I promised Kahari a sushi. He sees no sushi, no fushi. Okay? Nothing. I'm not going to go, do like $50 sushi. I'm not going to keep my promise. Is that haram? Did I commit a sin? Kahari said, yeah, absolutely. Well, major sin, Sheikh. It's a major sin. Okay. So, is keeping the promise wajib or not? Al-ulama rahimahullah, some of them said yes, it is wajib. Some said it is only wajib if breaking the promise will cause harm. But if it is not gonna cause any harm, it's just recommended for you to fulfill it. Okay? So for instance, somebody would come to me and said, Sheikh, I want you to, okay, you know what, inshallah, I will get you this book. It's not like your life depends on that book. I didn't get it. I just, I forgot. I didn't put it as priority. It's not like something I feel I must have to fulfill that promise. Okay? For instance, so they said if the breaking the promise is not going to cause harm, it's just recommended to keep it. I'm coming at 4 o'clock to your house. You are in your house. Are you going anywhere? No, I'm staying the whole day. I'm not going to leave the house. You know what? I'm in my house. It's 15 minutes to 4. I know it takes 10 minutes. You know what? I'll go at 6 since he's staying at home all day. And I didn't call you anything. I broke my promise because I told you I'll be there 4 and I came 5 or showed up 6. Some ulama says as long as there is no harm to the person, It's not a good manner, it's not a good thing, but it's not a sin. You didn't commit a sin. Other ulama said, no, you committed a sin because you made a promise and you did not fulfill it. Those who said it's wajib, they said because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order us to fulfill any promise. قال الله عز وجل سورة الإسراء verse 34 ولا تقربوا مال اليتيم إلا بالتي هي أحسن حتى يبلغ أشده وأوفوا بالعهد إن العهد كان مسؤولا. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وأوفوا بالعهد, fulfill any promise that you make. Your promises, your promise is something that you will be asked about. إن العهد كان مسؤول. Any promise you make, since Allah will ask me about it, it means it is wajib. Allah will only ask you about what He made it obligatory upon you, not what is recommended. You're not going to be asked in the Day of Judgment, did you pray the Sunnah? Why didn't you pray the Sunnah? No, why didn't you pray Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and so forth? What is wajib, okay? So, here, they said that verse show you that al-wafa' bil-ahd wajib, wa injaz al-wa'd wajib. Also, they said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran in Surah At-Tawbah verse 77, speaking about the hypocrites, like this hadith talk about hypocrites, also this verse talk about hypocrites. فأعقبهم نفاقا في قلوبهم إلى يوم يلقونه بما أخلفوا الله ما وعدوه وبما كانوا يكذبون. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have put hypocrisy or made their hearts filled with hypocrisy as a result of what? Breaking their promises with Allah. So He made one of the breaking promise lead to what? To hypocrisy. And Shaykh Muhammad al-Wahhab rahimahullah, he used this verse to, and he mentioned that breaking promise is one of the major sin in Islam. جعل أن إخلاف الوعد من الكبائر لأنه عد أيضا نوع من أنواع الكذب. طيب. Also, they said since the Prophet said it's one of the clear sign of hypocrisy or hypocrite, so that means it is haram to have this character trait. Other scholars said no, only it is haram if it causes harm to someone, otherwise it is from the good manners and the adab and the etiquettes, and generally speaking these are recommended act. Okay. Al-Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah said there is an agreement. Just pay attention to this. النووي رحمه الله when he say أجمعوا غالبا يقصد علماء الشافعية من جماعته. When he said they agree or there is a consensus, many times when he used this term, he would be referring to the Shafi'iyya, to the Shafi'i scholars, because he is a Shafi'i rahimahullah. Unless there is something in the context shows you that he meant all scholars from all different schools. أن من وعد إنسانا شيئا ليس بمنهي عنه فينبغي أن يوفي بوعده وهل ذلك واجب أم مستحب فيه خلاف. النووي رحمه الله said there is a difference of opinion if fulfilling the promise wajib or not, as long as the promise is something good, not something harmful or bad. He said الشافعي and Abu Hanifa and the majority والجمهور قالوا إنه مستحب. They said it's just recommended act, not wajib. فلو تركه فات الفضل. If you did not fulfill it, you just missed opportunity for reward. And it is highly disliked act, but there is no sin. طيب من حيث هو خلف للوعد. And if he meant to harm someone by that, he meant to cause harm to someone, he is sinning by breaking that promise. Yani for example, I told you, wait for me at 4 o'clock. And I know I'm not coming 4 o'clock. Or I didn't care to show up because I want you to, just to ruin it for you. Just to miss your weekend. That's, I am trying to harm. Or for example, Ya Shaykh Waleed, I'm gonna close the deal on a car tomorrow. Can you help me? if I did not close the deal, I will lose my down payment, which is $500 on the car. Sure, what do you want? He said, I want you to lend me $5,000. Okay, I can get you $5,000. No problem. You gonna get it to me? Yes, I will get it to you. That's promise, okay? By the way, promise doesn't mean I have to say the word, I promise you. Promise, no. Is that how the old day promise? Like, it doesn't need to be like any sign language or anything like that. So I know if I didn't give you the 5,000, you're not going to be able to get the car. What's going to happen to you? You're going to lose your down payment. That's harm. I should tell you I cannot do it. But that's harm and that's haram. حينئذ. So that's what the ulama rahimahullah said, if it causes harm. Then Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah said, وذهب جماعة إلى أنه واجب. And another group of scholars said it is wajib. Among them, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar said any promise you make is wajib. وبعضهم إلى التفصيل. And some of them said no. Like Ibn Mas'ud. Or بعضهم said no, if it is harmful, not harmful, what I just mentioned earlier too. Then he said, وكان ابن مسعود لا يعد وعدا إلا ويقول إن شاء الله تعالى. Anytime he make a promise, he said, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. Just in case he couldn't show up, he couldn't fulfill it, whatever, so he will not be sinful. That shows as if Mas'ud feels or take the opinion that it is wajib if you make a promise. But if you say inshallah, it's like I swear by Allah, I have to fulfill that. But if you said inshallah, even if you break it, there is no penalty on you. ثم إذا فهم مع ذلك الجزم في الوعد فلا بد من الوفاء. He said, if you make the other person feel that you 100% commit and you will do it, you should fulfill your promise unless you ask for for the person to excuse you or to forgive you, because it became hypocrisy. It became hypocrisy, and it's not right. So that's what Imam Nawawi rahimahullah said. And Al-Bukhari rahimahullah mentioned that Sa'id ibn Ashwa قضى بالوعد وهو قول طائفة من أهل الظاهر, that Sa'id ibn Ashwa he basically made al-wa'd is wajib to be fulfilled, and he said that this is an opinion of a group of scholars from Ahl al-Zahir, like Ibn Hazm. Shaykhna Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, وَأَمَّا إِخْلَافُ الْوَعْدِ فَحَرَامٌ. To break your promise is haram, is a sin. You must fulfill your promise. If you promise them money or help or anything, you have to fulfill your promise. That's why when someone say, I meet you in this place at that time, okay, and you became late, you should ask for forgiveness from the person, and you should not just didn't care. And he said it is sad, Shaykh Uthaymeen said it is sad that in our culture today some people said, are you coming? Yeah, I'm coming, I promise you. Then the person said, وعد إنجليزي. He said it is like a British promise. It's in culture in Middle East, in some Middle Eastern countries, like I know that in Egypt, Arabia, and in some country, like موعد إنجليزي, it is a promise of a British person. It means a promise will never be broken. When a British person promises you something, that they will be on time, exactly on the spot. It's just kind of culturally known to be that way. I don't know about that. But anyway, but in Western culture in general, there is a respect for promises. That's a good culture. In some other culture, no, there is no respect for promises at all. At work, work ethics, you work with a lot of people, they don't care about breaking promises in certain culture, or timing, it doesn't matter. Even we have the Arab Standard Time, Desi Standard Time, You know, we have all these kind of Muslim standard time. Unfortunately, otherwise, Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said that's sad because the Muslims are the one who've been asked to fulfill the promise. Otherwise, it's a form of hypocrisy. كان يقال آفة المروءة خلف الوعد. خلف الوعد. What really damage your character the most is breaking your promises. You know, I know that also as a person who work in da'wah. So many times people like give you promises, promise you to come to volunteer and they don't show up. Promise you to do whatever task that you give them and they don't drop the ball. It is very, very annoying. People, they promise you, for example, to come to your conference to give talk and the sheikh doesn't show up. You know what? It's really damaging. There's no even sometimes sorry. And it happens. It happens from all kind of people. So it's not only the average Muslim, even some of the special people who we consider them a role model, unfortunately. Breaking promise of two kind. Imām bin Rajab rahimahullah said that, and that's a beautiful point. قال إخلاف الوعد على نوعين. It's two types. أحدهما أن يعد وفي نيته ألا يوفي بوعده. He makes the promise and he knows he's not going to fulfill it. I will help you, I will come, and I know I cannot come. قال وهذا أشر الخلق. That's the worst one. Even if he said inshallah and his intention not to show up, he is lying and it is a lie and it's breaking promise, as Imām al-Awza'i rahimahullah said. The second one, أن يعد وفي نيته أن يفي. He make a promise and his intention to fulfill the promise. ثم يبدو له. Then something comes up and he changes his mind, his plan. So فيخلف من غير عذر له في الخلف. Then he basically would break his promise without a valid excuse. And that's also wrong. That's also wrong. But if there is a good excuse for you, you can just say, hey, I am excused. I am not like, I can't do that and I cannot show up. You ask for forgiveness. But what if the promise is a favor? Okay? Is asking you to forgive me a breaking a promise? يعني I promise Ahmed that I will give him $500. And I did not, as a help. I said to him, I'm sorry, I don't think I want to do that. Do I commit a sin? No. If I told him, I said, hey, I cannot give you the $500. When I said I don't give him $500, now he's engaged with us. If I said I cannot give you $500, I promise you, but I can't. I'm sorry. I told him. Is that a sin? No. If it causes harm, if it's going to cause harm, and he know that this is harmful, it will be a sin. You go back to the. But what if it's not going to cause harm? What about those who said it's obligation? They will tell you, no, you have to give him. Unless there is a valid reason why you don't want to give him, because he wastes the money, he's this, he's that. And I do believe in a case like this, you're not sinning. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَمَا عَلَى الْمُحْسِنِينَ مِنْ سَبِيلٍ. If you want to do a favor to someone, you're not obligated to do so. But it's not a good manner. You should keep your word. I was once with somebody in the car, in Starbucks. So he said, I'll pay for the car behind me. Okay? And he said, oh, great, mashallah. Then he came to this, said, hey, I want to pay for the car behind me. How much is it? The lady said, $13. He said, no, thank you. That's a lot of money. He has the money to pay. It's not like going to break him or anything like that. But he thought it's going to be $2, $3. Then he stopped and he said, you know what, I made this promise, I'm not going to break it. And he paid for it. Then ask the person, you made the promise to who? He said, to myself and to Allah. You know, I'm not going to break it for the shaitan. Because if I break it because the shaitan ya'idukum al-faqr. Shaitan is the one who told you to be stingy. So he said, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to pay for it. See, I don't need to say wajib and haram and sin. You should be motivated by the good manners and yani, it's a good character trait that you always, your words control you. I give you my word. I'll do whatever to make sure my words stay. That's a very good quality. طيب. يخرج من ذلك من وعد فأخلف وهو لم ينوي الإخلاف لعذر قاهر. If there is something prevented you and valid reason, that's not the breaking promise. I lost my money, I got accident, I couldn't come, you know. Something like came up, this is an excuse, a valid excuse. If you promise somebody to do something, it is haram to fulfill the promise. You must break the promise. One of the things that we learn from this hadith, by the way, among the ulama who said it does not sin, if basically I make a promise and later on I think, you know what, I think I'm not changing my mind, I don't think I want to do that, I don't think I want to commit to this, you know, I can't come, I cannot show up. And you make ask for forgiveness, that's not a sin. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said that. One of the things that we learn from this hadith, don't make a lot of promises. Because as you heard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, your promise is something you will be asked about. And you don't want to be asked about all this. Just don't make too many promises. You know, a lot of people make a lot of promises in their life. Don't. Make very few promises in your life. Also, part of the promises is a nadhr. To make a promise with Allah. Ya Allah, I promise you to do this. And no doubt this is one of the promises that it is what? The most important promise to be fulfilled, which is the promise with Allah subhanahu. Yani, Ya Rab, I promise you to do this. And be careful, because some people make promises they cannot keep. I know a man, or I know him, he told me his story himself. He made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if Allah give him $1 million, he will give 50% of it for his sake. Every year. As long as his income above $1 million, 500,000 will go donation. I mean, that's a very hard promise to keep. Just to give $500,000 is a lot of money. You know, it is hard to keep that, 50%. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him 500,000. Allah gave him $1 million. He said, Shaykh, I give the first year the 500, I donated. 3 checks or 2 checks to 2 different organizations. Alhamdulillah, I'm so happy. The second year, I think I get like 40, 35, 25. And every year, my money goes more and my sadaqah goes less. SubhanAllah. And he was crying, telling me, I don't know what to do, Shaykh. He said, now, alhamdulillah, Allah give me a lot of money. Zakah is very hard for me. 2.5% is hard. Not easy. So sometimes you be careful what kind of promises that you make, especially with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also mentioned another quality of the hypocrite, which is, and when he entrusted, he betrays his trust. وَإِذَا عَاهَدَ غَدَرٍ نَسَأَلُ اللَّهَ الْعَافِيَةَ. Betraying is such a bad quality. And it is close to the breaking promise, okay? وَإِذَا عَاهَدْ, entrusted, and he made ahd, it means like, I make an absolute promise to be trusted with this, I'll betray you. And these basically promises that is based on trust, it is between you and Allah, between you and the humans. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَشْتَرُونَ بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ وَأَيْمَانِهِمْ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. Those who are willing to break their promises with Allah for a cheap gain. Cheap gain. Allah made a promise, they took a promise from them that they will protect the religion, they will deliver the religion. But you know what? Because I want to please my boss, my president, my king, my culture, my whatever, I changed the message. I changed the deen. أولئك لا خلاق لهم في الآخرة ولا يكلمهم الله ولا ينظر إليهم يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم. Allah will not talk to them, will not look at them, will not, purify them, and they have the most severe, painful punishment. Allah praised the believers in Surah Al-Mu'minun, the surah of the believers, verse 8. The previous one, Surah Al Imran, verse 77. And this one, Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse 8, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. شو جمع بين الأمانة والعهد؟ التقارب. كما هنا جمع بين الأمانة والعهد في صفات المنافقين النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Here also they keep the promises, and when they're entrusted with something, they keep it. In Surah Al-Nahl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Nahl, verse 91, وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَاهَدتُّمْ. When you make a promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you've been trusted with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with something, make sure that you fulfill that. وَلَا تَنْقُضُوا الْأَيْمَانَ بَعْدَ تَوْكِيدِهَا. And if you make we swear, you make an oath by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names, you should not break that promise that you made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. So, Wallahi, I will do this. You don't break that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is many verses, that's enough. في صحيح البخاري ومسلم، في البخاري ومسلم من حديث أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه، that النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لكل غادر لواء يوم القيامة عند أسته يوم القيامة. Each one who betray his country, his society, the army, like in the war time, those people, there will be a flag attached to them in the day of judgment. And that flag basically starts from their behind, where their behind are, all the way above their heads in the day of judgment. Why? Because everybody will look at him, because in the day of judgment, no sign, no flag, you all of a sudden see this guy with the flag. And why it is at his behind? Out of showing his awrah and exposing him, like seeing the worst of him, because that's the worst thing you can do. Because the betrayal, what he does, يظهر عورة المجتمع، يظهر عورة البلد، عورة الجيش. When somebody betray his country, like treason, or betray the army in the war, what he does, he tells people about the aura of basically, or the weak, or the area which is you don't want your enemy to know about. But that person who betrayed his country or betrayed his army, or the army, he told people about the area where nobody want to, where you don't want your enemy to know about. And the same thing, your awrah. Why it's called awrah? Because you don't want anyone to see it. It's private. You want to cover it. That's where the word awrah comes from. So in the day of judgment, Allah expose him and let people see from him what he doesn't want people to see. Anyway, the point that he will be exposed, he will be identified in the day of judgment. Look at another hadith, or listen to another hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man qatala nafsan mu'ahadan or mu'ahidan." If you kill a Christian or a Jew or someone live in a Muslim country who live under the protection of the Muslims, okay? لم يرح رائحة الجنة وإن ريحها ليوجد من مسيرة 40 عاما. في البخاري من حديث عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما. That the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and this is in the Bukhari, if you kill one of the non-Muslims who live in the Muslim community or among the Muslims, and he been giving, the aman, which it means like he is in treaty, he's living with them not expecting any harm. It's not like a war zone. Like now, like you take a visa, you enter, or you're a citizen, you enter in the country, we're living together, nobody expecting somebody, we're not in a war with each other. If you kill such person, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the killer will not see or will not even smell the fragrance of Jannah. Even though you can smell the fragrance of Jannah from a 40 years of distance. And you can imagine the distance that you cover in 40 years of traveling. That's what, hundreds of thousands of kilometers or miles? 40 years of traveling, millions of miles. That's how far this person from Jannah. So it's a way of saying that he is very, and if you are very far away from Jannah, that means where are you? In a very deep place in hellfire. That's the scary part. Okay? So that's basically الخيانة أو خلاف العهد. And in one of the narration, وَإِذَا اؤْتُمِنَ خَانٍ, if you entrusted him with something, he will betray you, or he will betray the trust, in one of the wording of the hadith. Al-amana is when I trust you with something. And Allah trusted us with things. What Allah trusted us with? The first thing He trusted us with this religion. It's a trust that Allah have given us. What is He entrusted us with the religion to do what? To protect it, to explain it to people, to deliver it, okay? To support it. That's something we've been entrusted with. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملها وحملها الإنسان. This amana, this trust, which is the religion, something that we are carrying. It is our responsibility to protect it, to deliver it, to explain it, to share it, blah, blah, blah. So that's one of the things that Allah entrusted us with. We should not betray that trust. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تخونوا الله والرسول وتخونوا أماناتكم وأنتم تعلمون. Don't ever betray someone after you've been entrusted from that person. Do not betray while you are knowingly knowing that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تُؤَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا. When somebody entrusted you with something, you have to give it back to them. Ya akhi, subhanallah, yani, I couldn't think of a better example than loans. Ya akhi, I trusted you, and I give you a loan to pay me back, and I never see you. You never pay me back. Or worse than that, I trusted you with my daughter. I give you my daughter. I trusted you with my son, and you betrayed that trust. Or I trusted you to lead the community. I trusted you with my money. I trusted you with my ird, my honor, my family, and you betrayed the trust. All these are haram, and a sin in Islam is to betray these trusts, the trust that you've been entrusted with. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and this is beautiful hadith, قال أد الأمانة إلى من ائتمنك ولا تخن من خانك. The Prophet ﷺ said, if someone entrusted you with something, give it back to them when they ask you. And don't ever betray those who betrayed you. We don't deal with people according to how they deal with us. We deal with people according to our standard, not to their standard. So if somebody betrayed me, I'm not going to betray them. If somebody lied to me, I'm not going to lie to them. If somebody cheated me, I'm not going to cheat on him or cheated him. I have principle that based on it, I act according to my principle, not according to your standard or your principle. And that's very, very important. That's why it's beautiful when somebody said, when people go low, you go high. You don't go lower, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also said, and this hadith in Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and Sahih ibn Hibban, قال لا إيمان لمن لا أمانة له. There is no iman, there is no faith for those who have no amana. You cannot trust them. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, he's not a mu'min, the one whose neighbor can feel trusted, can trust him, or I don't feel safe from you. You can't be a believer and your neighbor can't even feel safe from you or trust you. I mean, if my neighbor is just crazy, that's his problem. But I'm talking about normal thing, because you're so suspicious. You always break promises. You always do this. So people really, you have a very bad reputation. That's a sign of a very weak iman. When the Prophet قال لا إيمان, as the Imam Ibn Badran rahimahullah said, قال المؤمن من آمنه الناس على أنفسهم وأموالهم فمن خانهم لم يكن كامل الإيمان. Al-Mu'min is trusted by people. They trust that person with their family, with themselves, and with their wealth. And if he betrayed them, that's a sign of weakness of Iman. Al-Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah mentioned this as one of the major sin in Islam, is betray the trust, and takhun al-amana. And he mentioned it as number 34 in his book, The Major Sins. طيب. One also of the format, or the manifestation of betraying the trust, that I trust you with secrets and you expose it. Ya akhi, I was married to you and you know my secrets, my private, and you go tell people. I'm your counselor and you go tell people. I trusted you and I opened my heart to you and use this against me. Between spouses or between friends. You know, this email was a private conversation. This chat was a private conversation. You take it and you put it in social media. And unfortunately, we cheer stuff like that on social media. We cheer that. When people are trusted, you know what? Whatever it is, this is one sin. Let's say I have a conversation which is not appropriate. That's a sin in itself, or whatever it is. But also exposing that to people, it's another sin on you. And we should recognize that. And we should not encourage such behavior. Okay. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال المجالس بالأمانة. Meetings are trusted. So if I have a meeting with people and we discuss things in that meeting, we were discussing, for example, should we give Shaykh Ibrahim a raise or not? Should we raise him and Shaykh Kamal? Me and Kabir and Azad are talking about Arafat. Let's have the board meeting, whatever. Let's see, can we give raise to Shaykh Ibrahim and Shaykh Kamal? I said, you know what? I think Shaykh Kamal should be taking money from him. As for Shaykh Ibrahim, you know what? He is, should be reduced to whatever I said. So then imagine, then some of the people in the meeting goes to Shaykh Ibrahim, Shaykh Kamal, said, Wallah, Shaykh Waleed, he thinks that you guys should, be fired. Or should be, or vice versa. That's haram. You can't. If I say an opinion in a meeting, you cannot put it out. Or you could go out, Shaykh Waleed said that you guys need to be having a raise and you're underpaid and la 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 la, and you tell people. No, you can't. That's why this leaking information to the media that you hear in politics, is it Islamically correct? No. If you've been trusted with that, you can't betray the trust. And there is means don't justify, or goal don't justify the means in Islam. And the last character which is mentioned in the hadith, وهي الفجور في الخصومة. When you disagree with that person will be very aggressive, will be very insulting. The reaction will be unpredicted. And this is very, very hard to see. And it's very, very common, unfortunately, with a lot of people, which shows you that signs of hypocrisy are common. الفجور في الخصومة, especially when a divorce takes place. Oh my God, unbelievable. Unbelievable. They're willing to say anything. He will lie, she will lie about everything, about their finance, about that doesn't matter anymore. And plot and will do unexpected things. You know, he will do whatever it takes to hurt her the most. Take her kids away. She's crazy. She's this, she's that. You know, recording him. And, you know, making him so angry. And she knows that he's going to lose it. And when he loses it, she get the camera. She set him up. He goes and he, you know, claim things that doesn't belong to him. خصومة, الفجور في الخصومة. It's a sign of hypocrisy. Very aggressive. You know what? You, for example, I have a case against you. Let's say you hit my car. I bring every single problem with the car before and I put it in you. And you know what? I need this and I need this and I need a settlement of $200,000 for my neck, for my back, for my legs, for my midri-ish, for future, for psychological damage, which is never, if it is happening, you deserve it. But there's nothing. I just taking advantage of it. فجور في الخصومة. We disagree in business. You know what? You don't have any papers to prove what you claim. Okay, but we disagree. You know what? I'll give you $200. What? You should give me $20,000. No, $300. Take it or leave it. By the way, I know cases like or similar to these numbers, close to these numbers. Somebody got a fight with his wife and they go to the court and she said to the judge, subhanAllah, she said to the judge, he is adulterer. Adulterer? What do you mean adulterer? He has another wife in his life. He commit adultery. Yeah, but after you get separated, he married someone else. No, but technically by law he should not do that until, you know, but she called him adulterer. وفي الإسلام رمي المحصن بالزنا كبيرة. To claim someone who is trusted as adulterer, that's a major sin in Islam, but doesn't care. As long as you give me $50,000. For what? Otherwise, I'm going to make you suffer. الفجور في الخصومة يعني unbelievable. And it unfortunately it is it's a common thing and it's a very clear sign of hypocrisy. After we are best friends, let's say we disagree even in fiqh. It happened in fiqh, opinions. I disagree with you. Oh my God, I make you يعني ضال, مضل, مبتدع. I made you all the evil names you can think of and description. I just put it on you, just because we disagree with each other. I'm talking to someone. I have, for example, an opinion about certain things, even if politically very controversial. Okay? I don't know if I should give example or not. I don't mind, but I just want everybody. Alhamdulillah, you guys know me. But I want to tell you, like, let's see. the political change that happened in Egypt. That's a real example. Okay, somebody pro the new president, somebody pro the old president. I can debate that, I can explain my position, but for you to come and accuse me with things that you know that I'm far away from it. You're a terrorist, you're this, you don't love your country, you're betrayal, you only hate your country. I'm not like that. Or the vice versa. Because, you are just, a hater, you're killers, you're a baby killers, you're this, I'm not. There is sometimes fujur fil khusuma. Or somebody try his best to run an organization. It didn't do a good job. Khalas, this has become the worst organization in the world and we start attacking them. That's not right. And I can think of many, many examples. What does exactly al-fujur fil khusuma means? Al-fujur fil khusuma yani you go beyond the limit. So you start lying. You start making accusations. You start following assumptions. You making things way bigger than what it is the real issue is. And this is one of the clear sign of hypocrisy. And this can be in the deen and the dunya. Bullying people, it's form of الفجور في الخصومة. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من خاصم في الباطل وهو يعلمه لم يزل في سخط الله حتى ينزع. When I am arguing with you and being aggressive, even I know I'm wrong, you are basically at that point, at that time, hated by Allah until you stop. ومن أعان على خصومة بظلم فقد باء بغضب من الله. Or I help you to have that fujur, to insult people, to whenever they disagree, I helping you. I'm aiding you, even though I know you basically have crossed the limit. Like for instance, today there is people, for example, accusing this Islamic groups or this Madrash, Muslim Brotherhood, people not happy with them. There is fujur fil khusuma. There is like, all evil in the world happened because of them. You don't like them, you don't agree with them. You have the right to criticize them. But to bring every evil in the world happening because of them, and you start making things up, no. Hold on. And even the kafir, we don't do this with them. Al-fujur fil khusuma with anyone, Muslim, non-Muslims, enemy or friends, we don't do that. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت إن أبغض الرجال إلى الله الألد الخصم. الألد يعني الشديد الخصومة. The most hated one by Allah, the one that you disagree with, he go so aggressive against you. He became so aggressive against you. قال الحافظ بن رجب رحمه الله الفجور أن يخرج عن الحق عمدا ويصير الحق باطلا والباطل حقا وهذا مما يدعو إليه الكذب. He said الفجور, being aggressive and cross the limit whenever you disagree with someone by making the truth falsehood and falsehood is truth. Especially if you have that ability. Some people are bullying. Some people they have that have very strong personality. They can't just be so aggressive against the other, especially if the other person is calm and like weak. And some people, they have this ability when they talk, they make you sound, he's right. And actually he's not. He's lying. Also, Shaykh Waleed Basyouni said, الفجور في الخصومة. طيب, what is here hated is not that you argue with those who disagree with you. It is when you argue with falsehood. that you argue with insulting and aggressively and you go beyond the limit and what is appropriate. But arguing for when I disagree and argue for my right, that's okay. Also, like I give you an example also of when we disagree with each other. I don't fulfill the rights. Like I had a very bad experience with my wife. Hypothetically. Because she's listening. Okay? If I have a fight, I don't know if she's listening or not. Okay? If we had a fight, so I would say, you know what? Hey, listen, sister, okay? You know what? I'm not giving you any money. Why? I have my right. No. You know what? You're not allowed to leave the house. You're not going to see your kids. What? Why? Just because I disagree with you? See, I'm start using my right and I'm going beyond the limit. That's haram. That's not allowed. That's a sign of hypocrisy. Part of al-fujur fil khusuma, I make up stuff. Like complete lies. You know what? I don't like you, I disagree with you, we break our partnership. Or we work together, we don't work together anymore. I go around, you know what? He used to steal, he is this, he's not trustworthy, and all this lie. هذا من الفجور في الخصومة. Also from الفجور في الخصومة, التدليس والبهتان. So when we disagree with each other, I go to the social media or in the media, and let's say, I don't like Republican or I don't like Democrats. You see it clearly. You don't like Biden or you don't like Trump, they don't like each other. Do you see what they do to each other sometimes on the media? That's in Islam, if there is a good Islamic etiquette, that will not be allowed, that's haram. To assassinate his character. This not acceptable in religion. Also, part of الخصوم في الفجورة الفجور في الخصومة أن ترد الحق من خصمك. يعني I don't accept the truth just because I don't like you. Even though what you're saying is correct and I reject it. You know what? I don't want it from you. I'm going to deny it just because you said it. That's part of the al-fujur fil khusum. That's part of the going beyond the limit of when we disagree with each other. Also, among that, tadkhim al-akhta. I make it so big, even though it is minor or it's small. You know, maybe it's a minor bid'ah. I made it as the biggest kufr in the world, as of the worst sin in the world. No, come on, put it in the right size. Also, إساءة الظن وتحميل الخصم ما لم يقل وإلزامه بلازم قوله. That I always, when I disagree with you, I will always think the worst of what you say and understand it in the worst format. Okay? And you see this in social media, and unfortunately you see it sometimes from people who supposedly to be so quote unquote student of knowledge or du'at or actors. Somebody he put a message out there on Twitter, say, why you are saying that the Sahaba committed kufr? Or why are you saying the Sahaba is kuffar? Or making shirk? What? When did I say that? You need to know how to respect the Sahaba. I respect the Sahaba before you know what Sahaba means. Before you get to know what Sahaba are. What's the definition of Sahabi? But that's not the point. Why? How come I said in one of my khutab that I was talking about something in my khutbah, and I said in my khutbah that mistakes can happen from people of knowledge and people who are very well respected and stuff like that. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum wa ardahum, even they said things which is considered shirk. When they said, Ya Rasulullah, and when you say the Sahaba, you don't mean every single Sahabi, you mean about that particular incident. It's obvious unless you really don't understand language. When some of them said, Ya Rasulullah, we want a tree to bless our sword, like those people have a tree. And I said, that does not undermine the level of the Sahaba at all. It's still, they have the respect. So even noble people can make mistakes. So the example to prove that noble and high status people can make a mistake. So for you to bring this and to say, oh, you're trying to put down the Sahaba. No, I'm giving them as the model, like the noble. So some people, yudallisun, and you see clearly, but because you have something against that person, or you want to make yourself, to make something out of nothing, or you basically tafjur fil khusuma. You go beyond that limit when we disagree with each other. A lot of people, I can make you bear, like for example, somebody did something haram or wrong. Shaykh Waleed approved the shirk and approved the haram. Why? Because we were sitting there and haram was done. Who said that I approved it? Maybe I talked about it, but you didn't hear me. Maybe I said something about it, you didn't know about it. Maybe I can't say anything about it. Maybe I don't have the power to do that. And you're not only saying that I didn't speak, now you're saying that I approve it. Why would you say that? And that's very common today. هذا من الفجور في الخصومة. And it's one of the signs of hypocrisy. You know what? You guys promote, it's like when you disagree with me, you try to make me, or you try to say that because this necessitates that, so that means you believe in it. That doesn't work. لازم القول ليس بلازم. افهموها قاعدة. لازم القول ليس بلازم. فقط لازم القول لازم في كلام الله ورسوله. أما أحد آخر لا. What that means? It means when I say something or I do something, if somebody said, your statement necessitates that thing that my statement necessitate, you cannot attribute it to the person directly. Al-ulama rahimahullah agreed upon. You cannot say because that necessitate that, it means this is my opinion. That's only allowed in the Quran and the Sunnah. But human beings, no. Why? Because in human beings, we have ghafla, we're not aware. We're not thinking about what my statement can necessitate. But that's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in His Sharia. Yeah, go ahead. Uh, One form of al-fujur fil khusuma, which it means that you basically, when you disagree with someone, that your disagreement leads you to go beyond what is acceptable, what is correct, what is right, what is morally correct, and you start being abusive and transgress against the person. الاستكثار بالأتباع والسلطان. Yani when I disagree with you, because I have a lot of followers, and I start bullying you with my followers. Hey, boycott the guy. Don't allow him. I use the power to abuse you and threaten you. Or I go to the government. I know a guy who is, not a guy, an Imām here in Houston. After 9/11, I heard him in the radio station in an interview. This Imām came in the radio station after 9/11 and he said, the terrorist people, the terrorists were sleeping cells in our Houston, and those terrorists are the graduate from Medina and the graduate from Saudi Arabia. Those Wahhabi terrorist, Imams are the one who you should fear and the one who you should go after. And after 9/11, the whole government, the whole country was like angry and just looking for any scapegoat or anyone to like punch them, And this guy, just take this guy. Why? Because he has a problem, a theological problem between him and that school. Now because before the Salafi are the bad guys, now the Ikhwan are the bad guys. Because I have a problem with the Ikhwan, what I do? I go to the government and said, they are Ikhwan. Just to throw under the bus. That's not, هذه ليست مروءة, ليست رجولة. For example, when I see the government going aggressive and I go through, and it happened. Like sometimes you see it in reality. We have an incident in Houston. An Imam Masjid, did say something, and this is also a real example in Houston. He said that something in a sermon was not appropriate, politically incorrect, or it is wrong the way it was put out there. But he doesn't know any better. He doesn't mean any harm. What? And some organization came out with a statement saying what? This Imam is not part of our organization. And this masjid is not part of our organization. Why? Because there is a history of disagreement between them. So what they do now, and publicly, do that. Or I have a problem, me and Kalim, for example, we have a disagreement on something. Then I made a mistake. All of a sudden, Kalim, because he's used to being care, and he has a lot of connections with the media, he made a press release and bring all the video stations. Shaykh Waleed was found guilty with this and this, and I expose him. And I use the power of government or the power of media, power of followers against you. I got once a phone call from somebody in the FBI asking me about something very interesting. He said, Shaykh Waleed, do you know so-and-so, Shaykh? I said, do you know this Shaykh? Somebody told us that ISGH harboring terrorists and promoting terrorism. The FBI said, we know ISGH a long time ago, something like that. I said, no, ISGH is good. Why would you? He said, we know ISGH is good. We know they're not this kind of people. But this is very weird, and it's coming from someone who's like, I really figure there's any history you can what's your thought about those? Why? ISGH hosted one person to speak, in one of the masajid. And that person wrote an article immediately He doesn't like ISGH. So what he goes to the FBI immediately, making an email, whatever. ISGH invited this sheikh, and this sheikh has a connection with, with extreme views and ideas and blah, blah, blah. And he said that Jews and Christians should be killed, blah, 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 and all this kind of nonsense. Luckily, I know the person that he's talking about. And I know this particular accusation, it was a false Islamophobe, take it out of context, and it even Fox News once put it up and they apologized because it was clear lie about the person. So I said, hey, this is the link to what happened and how even Fox News apologized for this, and this all made up and lies. This is just a personal thing. Khasam Fajr. Fujur. Just because you have a problem with one organization, once I got here a letter in the masjid. The judge wanted to ask me about the creed and the ideologies of this masjid connected to extremism or madri ish. Why? Because in the Sunday school, that's a few years back. This family is not anymore here, so nobody gonna know who they are. But a few years back, like maybe more than 5 years ago. Why? Somebody has a fight with his divorced woman or wife. Then he goes to the court and he said, she take them to clearly Islamic Center run by some extremist Wahhabi Imām. His name is Waleed Basyouni. And my kids will be brainwashed. Fajr. Just because you have a problem with your wife, you accuse the whole entire center? And the community who pray in the center? This is fujur for khusul. Also sometimes is when you disagree with someone or there's a disagreement, it doesn't stop at the person. You go to the family. You know what? It's just between me and you. Why would you curse my father and my parents and my family and my whole entire country? Why would you say bad things about everybody? And it goes to bother the children and even your wealth. Somebody will go to your job. But we have a disagreement. Why would you go to my work and expose me at my work? Ruin my whole life with my partners. Sometimes also exaggerating in the punishment. I will teach them a lesson. طيب خلاص, you taught, he did something wrong and you punished him. No. So I'm gonna humiliate them. I'm gonna break them. No. When you disagree with something, you go and you expose their secrets and their history. All these are haram. And just because they disagree with you, you go and you basically make false reports. Somebody miskin, I fire someone from my work. Oh, do you know that, Brother Muhammad or Ahmad, whatever, or Aziz, or Abdul Aziz, whatever name it is. His business, he never filed tax, he hid taxes. He doesn't know anything, he just made this up. Why? Because he knows it's a nightmare to get audited. It costs you so much money. You just want to ruin your life. So all those forms is very unfortunately common when we disagree with each other, is how we treat one another. We should have respect, we should know the limit, and we can argue for our right, we can punish those who have done wrong to us, but according to what is just and fair. And we don't go beyond that. Sorry if I go on too many examples, and some of these examples can be a little bit sensitive, but I want to make it as real as as possible. And unfortunately, it's very real, and we live that, and we see that in our life. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you very much.